Hi, it's Dwyer, gamblersadvisory.com, dwyervip.com. Remember, the opinion you should follow should be your own. Just consider this video to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online. Let me just say, I'm very impressed by the University of Missouri's football team. One of the most exploited groups, in my opinion, in America are college students in general, right? They're being saddled with unrealistic levels of student loan debt, right? Older people are smiling at them and saying, oh, he'll be able to pay it off and stuff like that. The red ink is so ridiculous that you have many kids, 21, 22 years old, saddled with $50,000, $100,000, $150,000 worth of debt. I don't believe the dialogue is remotely realistic about the exploitation that's taking place. Understand, many of the professors who are teaching them are earning well north of six figures, right? Well, an even more exploited group than college students in general, in my opinion, and you can look up videos I've made on the student loan scam, I call it, but an even more exploited group are black athletes on campus, right? Especially in high revenue earning sports. They're bringing in far more to the university than the regular student, right? They're actually earning money for the university. They're helping to pay the six-figure salaries of many of the people around them. If we include the coaches, now we're talking about some seven-figure salaries, right? And of all the groups on campus, as you can imagine, black students are more likely to come from broken homes. Many of these black students are the first people in their families to actually go to college, to have an opportunity at a college degree. And of course, black athletes, all NCAA athletes, have the NCAA looking over their shoulder to make sure that they're not receiving any off-the-books compensation. Why? Because they're so valuable to the university that there's an incentive from boosters to try to give them off-the-books compensation. That's how you know that a group's being exploited, when there's actually an incentive for people to give them money. In other words, they're bringing in more value than they're getting, right? Markets are developing to compensate them for the value they're bringing in that they're not sharing in, right? Well, the students at Missouri, after a series of racial incidents on campus, right, were so appalled by the administration's lack of a response, right? Whatever you think about whether or not the incidents were serious or sanctioned by the university, whether or not you feel these incidents were facilitated by the university, understand it is simply beyond the pale. It's completely unacceptable for college students who already are paying an arm and a leg to be on campus to be subjected to an environment where someone's putting up swastikas on the wall, right? You're a black student, you're dealing with Confederate flags, right? It's completely unacceptable to be in that environment and to have the administration, the one whose salary you're paying, just follow the money, right? Whether it's through tuition or whether you're an athlete on scholarship and you're bringing in the money. It's ludicrous to have the people you're paying not be responsive to your needs. It's just downright exploitative, right? Forget the popular narrative, right? It's ridiculous. Well, put it this way. the football team had enough of the swastikas, right? And they said, look, we want the president of the university to resign. If he's not going to resign, we want him to take immediate action. And we want him to admit that as a white person in America, he has a certain privilege, white person's privilege, that minorities don't have. Now, there's been an outcry, as you can imagine. By the way, the president did step down. The football coach supported the players, who, of course, happen to be majority black, right? Let's just say this. I've now been subjected to too many conversations where people come up to me and they try to act like the idea of racism in America is a foreign idea. How could that happen? White privilege, what's that? Right? Enough. Enough. Right? Maybe I need to download this video, download my own video. And the next time someone comes up to me and says, do you feel that white people have privilege here in the United States? Maybe I should just give them a CD of this video. Let me just say this. You know, it's so obvious. I'm not accusing everyone of being a racist or anything like that, but understand race matters globally, not just in the United States. Go around the globe. You're going to find a lot of ethnic-based disputes. You're going to find people of different skin colors, depending on the circumstance, right, to have, as a group, far less financial resources than people of other skin colors, right? And you're going to find that some people don't have the same political clout, power, just due to their cultural affiliation than others. That's the way the world works. Right? I'm not saying that's the way it should be. But that's the way it has been. So in tennis, can we agree, since Serena Williams very narrowly missed a Grand Slam in a year, has had the #1 ranking for a long time, can we agree that Serena Williams is the best female tennis player on the planet? Right? I'm not here talking about affirmative action, giving her credit where credit's not due or whatever, right? I'm just talking about objectively. Can we agree that Serena Williams is the best tennis player in the world? Right? If we can, then it's a bit astonishing to learn that for several years now, Maria Sharapova has been the highest earning person when you factor in endorsement money. Right? Think about it. Right? Serena is winning on the court. No one can accuse her of getting preferential treatment. Right? Because that's the way these things are always portrayed politically. But yet she's not the highest earning female tennis player. Right? And so let me just say, you can couch it however you want. I'm not accusing advertisers who embrace Maria Sharapova, who's an excellent tennis player, right? I'm not accusing them of racism. But what I am saying is advertisers want to sell product. They understand what sells. They understand who has the money to buy, right? That gives a white athlete like Maria Sharapova an advantage over a black athlete like Serena Williams, whatever Serena does on the tennis court. Yes, it's true. Serena Williams is a multimillionaire. Yes, it's true. She's made a lot of money. But understand there are many black people, count me among them, who understand that however brilliant she is on the tennis court, right, that's not necessarily going to translate into the money that Maria Sharapova is making. Right? Black athletes understand this, right? They understand that as good as they are, they can be the best. They're not getting the level of consideration that a Maria Sharapova is getting. right? That's the reality. The conversation shouldn't veer into some, ridiculous conversation about affirmative action and stuff like that, right? The reality is you look at the endorsements that a Barry Bonds made and you understand that if Barry Bonds were instead, let's say, Maria Sharapova, Bonds would have made a lot more money off the baseball field. Well, let me go one step further. Let's make this really uncomfortable, right? The more corporate friendly, the more advertiser friendly, and I'll concede, this ad is ad based, right? But the more advertiser friendly an athlete is, the more they cater to corporate interests, right? The more desirable they are as someone advertising corporate products. So you have a situation, and it's interesting, where Tyson Fury is about to fight Vladimir Klitschko. Now understand, neither of these guys comes for money. Neither of them do. But Vladimir Klitschko has honed his presentation to make himself corporate friendly. Right? So when you see Vladimir Klitschko, he's a guy who comes across as someone who can sell a car, right? Who can sell items that would net the corporate sponsor money. Tyson Fury, by contrast, a little bit rough around the edges in interviews, right? Just understand the long-term consequence of that. We, the sports viewer, are really being sold athletes packaged as Vladimir Klitschko, right? These athletes have an incentive to package themselves in corporate-friendly ways. So you have star athletes with a lot of market power, right? Afraid to talk out on social issues, right? They don't want to upset their corporate sponsors. They don't want to endanger future corporate opportunities, right? So, of course, they're not going to take big stands on major issues that might look edgy, right? That's the reality, right? The reality is that, quite frankly, it's the corporate-friendly the corporate-friendly athlete who gets the big endorsements, right? It's not the non-white athlete who isn't corporate-friendly, right? Who, might be viewed as a bit too militant, a bit too strident, right? A bit too aggressive, a bit too outspoken, right? So let me just close in saying, I know the mainstream media wants all of us to believe that, we all have the same opportunities. We don't, right? Trust me, no one believes more than me that folks should go out there and be all they can be. I'm not suggesting in the slightest that black people shouldn't be aggressive in being their best and getting as far as they can. But what I am saying is, as you do so, let's be clear here. You can be the very best. You can come within an eyelash of winning a career year Grand Slam, which hasn't been done for over a decade. Right? You can't let yourself be disheartened by the fact that as you're the best on the court, somebody else, right, is getting more money than you off the court, even though you beat them repeatedly in head-to-head contests, right? This isn't make-believe. That's Serena Williams today, right? Young black athletes need to look at Serena Williams and they need to realize, you know what? There is bias out there. I can't let the bias stop me, right? When athletes at a school like Missouri say, hey, I've had enough of the bias, I'm going to talk about the bias, rather than condemn them, we need to embrace their courage. We need to acknowledge that, yes, bias does exist on campuses, right? Certainly, and you can imagine, if it were thought that black kids on campus were smearing swastikas all over the place and were bothering students by having black power flags flying, you know we'd hear about that. That'd probably be on, let's say, Fox News, right? Certainly the administration, if students were traumatized by it, the administration would at least comment on it, right? Black people understand that. When it's the reverse, we need to be prepared for situations where our grievances aren't being addressed. We need to be prepared to actually voice those grievances, right? Just understand that we can't be brainwashed by the mainstream media into believing that there is no bias, right? There is a bias. It's obvious, right? I'm not saying any group is better than any other group. Far from it. What I'm saying is there are biases all over the globe, right? Some are racial, some are religious, right? Local powers that be will tend to favor one group over another. You can't let that stop you. Anyway, that's how I see it. Let me hear from you. Leave your comments for me here online. Visit us at gamblersadvisory.com. Let me say this too. I've had 1,000,001 people come up to me and say, what about Michael Jordan? What about Michael Jordan's success? Doesn't that show that there's no racism in America, right? Let me just say, could you imagine if Michael Jordan were like Maria Sharapova? Right? Could you imagine if Jordan were a white guy doing what he did? My God, as popular as Jordan is, he might even be more popular. Just like more well paid. Just like Maria Sharapova is more well paid than a very dominant Serena Williams. That's how I see it. Let me hear from you. Let me also say this too. I know many people are going to say, Dwyer, why get into politics? Look, YouTube is just an outlet for me to, convey my thoughts, right? This is the edgy part of the internet. I'm not trying to be friendly with everyone, right? I'm not trying to be, an easy glass of water, right? What we're trying to do here on this site is to spit the truth on sports, right? I hope with that in mind, you spit the truth back to me. Let me hear from you. Understand too, my own life is very multiracial, right? Very, right? As I said before, I'm really more of a humanitarian person, but you're kidding yourself if you don't feel that there's bias in the United States. Thanks for stopping by.